Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share my first update on my experience with the Lenovo Legion Slim 7i 16 for 2023. Now, this particular model that Lenovo sent over for review is the exact same one that is presently on sale at Best Buy. I'll include a link in the description, and I can tell you right here, if you've been waiting for a machine that can do pretty much everything and is under 5 pounds, you probably will not find a better laptop than this Slim 7i. And I say that because we've got a gorgeous display, 16-inch 2560 by 1600 res, 240 hertz IPS panel. It is great. Matte display. Particularly, this is my favorite size, aspect ratio. It checks every box other than being an OLED. Then under the hood, of course, we've got Intel's 13th gen i9 processor, complemented by an NVIDIA RTX 4070. And as you can see, when it comes to gaming, over 12,000 on TimeSpy. This means that any game you throw at this machine is pretty much going to run natively. When I say natively, I mean the resolution of this panel. And that is, in my opinion, the best you can get out of a laptop when it comes to gaming. You want a machine that will not underwhelm, but rather gives you a display that is optimized for the experience the manufacturer is delivering. And between that 13th gen i9 and the RTX 4070 in here, you're going to get exactly that. So Battlefield 5, 1440p, that's very close to the 1600p resolution of this panel, over 115 frames per second. If we try the most demanding title that TimeSpy calculates, that would be Red Dead Redemption. Again, 1440p Ultra, over 45 frames. And I have not even attempted to really squeeze all of the performance out of this less than 5 pound rock just yet. So really impressive performance. And remember, these TimeSpy benchmarks, they don't just equate to gaming. This should be a very good indicator if you plan on using this solely for photo and video editing, rendering, CAD, Revit, whatever it may be as a creative professional. This is going to be an ideal machine. And the great thing about it is that, again, under 5 pounds, and the build quality and overall aesthetic is exceptional, because even though this is a Legion laptop, it doesn't look like a gaming machine. Granted, I've got the per key RGB going nuts right now on the backlighting. That can all be shut off. It really just has everything. It checks just about every box, including the I/O realm. I mean, this is just a different beast than even its larger 7i sibling, which I'll likely end up comparing it to, because performance really isn't that far apart. Granted, I've got the 4080 in studio, not the 4070, but this is still amazing. The 1 terabyte NVMe drive that comes stock with this machine is very good. You will not need to upgrade it from a performance standpoint. You might want to add additional storage in the second NVMe drive, which is available. So that's going to be the route if you want to expand storage. But from a performance standpoint, the Gen 4 NVMe drive in here is just as good as it should be here in 2023. Wi-Fi performance has been excellent. Haven't had any issues with that. The keyboard, as usual, with Legion laptops, in my opinion, is dead on the money. We have good key travel, per key RGB backlighting. This machine, even though it's under 5 pounds and incredibly thin, does not get very hot, at least so far for me. Granted, I need to spend more time with it. This is not a full review, but so far I'm blown away. I mean, this is really moving in the direction of what an ideal laptop looks like, in my opinion. Thin, light, high performance. You really aren't sacrificing anything. Let's take a look and a listen at the speaker and AV quality with this sample video. Let me go ahead and turn the mic around. And again, we're at about 50% brightness. If I were to crank it up any more, it would be blown out. think that gives you a pretty good example. I mean, the panel quality here is very good. The only way it could be better is if it were an OLED, in my opinion. I mean, it's just excellent. Now, the 16 gigs of RAM, for those of you that are wondering, they are soldered, but we do have an available slot, so you can upgrade your RAM. But something that really reminds you this is in the thin and light category rather than the traditional one, because RAM being soldered generally is a signature move when it comes to getting these machines as thin as they possibly can. But the good news is that the cooling solution on here seems to be doing a great job, because again, the 4070, at least based on benchmarks and early performance that I've tested it very roughly, seems to be very close to what you would get out of a regular full-powered 4070. So it's pretty amazing that in a thin envelope like this, we were able, or I shouldn't say we, Lenovo was able to accomplish this. Now, when I say that this machine is just as attractive to pretty much any user on the market, I mean it, because cosmetically, it is very much, I think, in line with what most people are after. Let me go ahead and get our focus in line here. Hopefully it'll lock and stay locked. But let's go around and take a look at these ports. Again, part of the star of the show for the Slim 7i is that the I/O is just, I would say, remarkable, considering how thin and light this machine is, especially when it has better I/O than its larger sibling. So we've got a full-size UHS 2 SD card slot. We've got a privacy switch for that full HD webcam that was front and center at the top of the 16-inch display. Ventilation, of course, all around, and as we come to the back of the unit, that's where the majority of the I/O is. So we've got, of course, three Type A USB ports. Then we have an HDMI 2.1 output, as well as the charging port. Now, this uses a proprietary 230-watt power brick, but as we come around to the other side of the machine, that's where your two Type-C ports are, and the good news is that both of these support charging. This is a Thunderbolt 4 port, the other is a USB 3.2 Gen 2, and then of course a headphone microphone combo jack. So this really has everything from an I/O standpoint, and because we can charge this, I've already tested it with a 140 watt as well as a 130 watt Type-C brick, and it is able to power it. Now, will you get the full performance? No. Will you get very close? Yes, and that is amazing. Another thing I want to point out, these little, the I/O icons do light up, and I love this feature. It's something that unfortunately Lenovo retired from the higher end, I'll say, not more premium 7i line, but it's still something that's nice to have here on what inevitably feels like a more premium machine, again, than the higher spec, more expensive, well, I shouldn't say more expensive because this is fairly expensive for what it is, but than the traditional regular 7i lineup. So good to see that we still have an all-metal chassis, the rounded edges with a differentiation of the metallic finish that's being used. These were all elements of the previous generation that were retired in every line other than the Slim. So again, really nice. I mean, I think this is the machine to own in 2023, unless you absolutely need more power, and then you need to get a 4080 or 4090 solution and a much bigger power brick. But having this, I think the only way this machine can get better, based on at least early impressions, is when we do have a power brick that is Type-C rather than a 230 watt regular good old brick that ends up getting this closer to a full roughly 7 pounds. Since again, this is a little under 5 on its own. But an excellent machine. Again, don't forget that sale. If you've been waiting for a great price on what is arguably one of the best machines here in 2023, for, as I've mentioned, pretty much every human being that needs a discrete GPU and a machine that looks like it wouldn't have one, the Slim 7i 16 for 2023 very well may be that machine for you, even though it is part of the Legion design language and it has that branding here on the front. It otherwise is, I think, totally subdued and just very well made and has performance to back that up. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe and please stay safe. Later.